welcome to At America. My name is Genara, one of the e-guides here in At America, and I hope that everyone is having a wonderful day today. And if you're new here, At America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. Right now, we will be having another session of GED test preparation, reasoning through language arts. But before we start today, I have a little fun fact for you. And the fun fact is, in alignment with career and college readiness standards, the GED Reasoning Through Language Arts test focuses on three essential groupings of skills: the ability to read closely, the ability to write clearly, and also the ability to edit and understand the use of standard written English in context. And now let's welcome our facilitator for today, Zakaria Shatkam, GED Qualified Instructor. Zakaria, the time is yours.
Yes, hello, and thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, and welcome everyone to yet another session of GED Prep Class by At America. And I hope you're fine and doing well. So in the last 10 sessions, we have talked about reading nonfiction, analyzing nonfiction, reading fiction, and also analyzing fiction. But from now on, we'll focus more on the practical side of each sentence in English, and also different parts of different grammatical rules, and some really common mistakes, or maybe I should say very common mistakes that people make when they try to either write down or when they speak. I hope you can see my screen now. So this is session 11, and today it's about language and grammar. So as we all know, any language in the world, it doesn't really matter what language you choose. They have their grammatical rules, meaning that there are certain rules that they follow, where either when they speak or when they write. And through the grammatical rules, we know what someone is talking about or what someone means. So this is basically what we have studied so far, and this is a recap, a really short recap, because we don't have enough time to go through everything that we should learn in today's session. So to do a short recap of the previous session. By the way, we did not have any session on Saturday last week, so please do not worry and do not think that you missed anything. So as you know, this is what we studied on Thursday last week. We talked about characterization, basically meaning when a writer in a nonfiction or fiction decides to characterize a character in a story or in a text, they can do it either directly, we said that, or indirectly. Either directly or indirectly. So narration is basically the story itself. Narrator is the person who is telling the story, either if it's, we said that we talked about different points of view. We said that we have first-person narration, we have second-person narration, and we have third-person narration. And we went on talking about third-person narration using my, mine, I. Second-person narration, use you, your, yours, yourself, and basically objective pronouns for the second person and any pronouns, the second person. And we said that third person, we had third person limited, third person objective, and also third person omniscient. We said that the third person limited only focuses on the one character or the main character, usually, of a story, and they decide to go through, they decide to explain or state everything that goes through their mind, that one character's mind, and also talks about feelings and all. We said that third person limited is about one person. Third person objective does not talk about anyone's feeling, any character's feeling or emotion, and only talks about the dialogues and the actions taken by the characters, and it's up to the reader to decide or to to infer what a character thinks or what a character is thinking or feeling at the given moment. We said that third person omniscient is basically like all knowing, talks about everyone's feelings, everyone's emotions, everyone's thoughts, and behaves like the we all know, like we say that the creator knows everything about the creature, and in here the creator decides to actually state everything about the creature, from actions to emotions, basically everything. And in the last session we talked about when a character decides to characterize, when a writer decides to characterize a character, they can do it through dialogues. So what a character says during conversations with other characters or during interactions with other characters. We said that when they want to quote a character, when they want to state what a character is saying, they use quotation marks. This is quotation. Quotation marks. Also, direct and indirect is basically what I talked about. Direct meaning that they tell you what kind of person a character is. Using human traits like lazy, intelligent, smart, basically stupid, and indirect characterization. And direct explicit is the same as direct characterization. So indirect characterization is when the writer or when the author does not tell you, or does not explicitly tell you, or directly tell you what kind of person a character is, and they just talk about their actions, or what they say, their dialogues, and it's up to the reader to figure out, to infer what kind of person the character is. And then we went on and talked about figurative language. Solution is like kind of difficult job. Sentence like this is an understatement. We know that swimming across the ocean is impossible, and calling it kind of difficult is understatement. Idiom is basically different parts. When a hyperbole or metaphor or personification or simile or understatement, when some of those are really, really famous, like Love is Blind and all. So when they come together and they become really famous and they become part of language, and native speakers actually use them so much that they don't even know that they are using figurative language, or they don't really know the exact names. Like they don't know whether they are using hyperbole or metaphor or personification, simile or understatement, but they use them so much that they have become part of language. So like, breaking a leg. And that's that. I hope I have not wasted a lot of time, because today we have a lot to talk about. So in today's session, we are going to talk about, as I said in the beginning, we are going to talk about language and grammar. And in any language, you have tenses. Tenses meaning that you have to have a way to talk about the present, the past, and future. Also, there are some conditional situations, but we're not going to go through them, not today, because we won't have enough time to go through them. We'll talk about verb tenses, different verb tenses for the past, the present, and for the future. We'll talk about parts of speech. So in any language, words are categorized in different, categorized based on their function, based on the job that they perform in day-to-day speech. That is that. And we will talk about verb tenses, and we'll talk about only the active ones. The passive ones is a bit complicated, and it will take a lot of time to talk about in today's session. But I'm just going to say that in active tenses, the subject of the sentence is actually used, or is said, or written in the beginning of the sentence, and in passive voice, that's what they call it, the subject is actually the receiver of the action. And if we think of subject, maybe I should tell you this, but at least. So there are 12 tenses, or 12 verb tenses in English. So you have for the past, you have for the present, and you have for the future. Right? So for they're all the same. So for the present, you have simple present tense, and present progressive tense. You have and present perfect tense, present perfect progressive tense, so present perfect continuous tense. And for the future as well, future simple tense, so simple future tense, future perfect tense, future perfect continuous, and future continuous, so future progressive or progressive future tense. And for the past as well, so past tense, past progressive, past perfect, and past perfect progressive. You have the 12 active tenses, or verb tenses, and also you could basically write them down in 12 passive voices. In an active sentence, when you say, for instance, John plays guitar. So in this sentence, you know that, oh, not John. You know that John is the one who does the action, who does the act of playing guitar. Maybe I should change the color. So John plays guitar. We know that John in here is the doer of the action, and guitar is the receiver of the action. And we know play in this sentence is the act, and the act in this sentence is done by John. And the first word of a sentence is referred to as the subject. We know that in here, this is the subject. This is the verb of the sentence, and this is the object of the sentence. But if you change this, we know if you don't know, it's fine. But this sentence actually belongs to the simple present tense. And simple present tense talks about daily activities, talks about general facts. And you say, I go to school every day, or I take shower every day, or I read books every day, or I go to gym, I work out. Workout is like a general fact, something you do every day, or talks about your daily activities, something that you might not be doing at the moment, that you're talking about it. It's something you do daily. It's part of your daily routine. But if we change this one to its passive voice, we have to reverse this sentence, and we have to bring guitar to the beginning. And if we say plays guitar, we have to kind of specify in that moment. So the guitar, so I should change the color again. We should say that the guitar is played by John. So in here, in this sentence, we have is played, and then we have John. John is still the doer of the action. Play is still the act that's being done by John, and guitar is still the receiver of the action. But the locations or the positions have changed. Now we have the guitar as the subject of the sentence. Verb remains in the same position, and we have John as the object of the sentence. And this basically what happens in any passive voice, so in any passive sentence, when you want to replace the subject with, and the main reason this is done is to change or to shift the focus from doer of the action to the receiver of the action. So for instance, if I'm saying, if I say this sentence, if I use this one, say, John plays guitar. In this subject or the main topic or the main character of the sentence, and here is John. My intention is to focus on to keep the attention or to bring the attention to John playing guitar. But if you want to talk about guitar and you want that to be the most important, so you want guitar to have the attention in the sentence, that's when you change its position and you bring guitar in the beginning of the sentence or to the beginning of the sentence, and you move John to the last part of the sentence. And then you say, if I say John plays guitar, John plays guitar. You know, oh, John, oh, well done, John. Oh, the guitar is played by John. Oh, what a wonderful music. Oh, yes, the guitar is played by John. Yes, oh, yes, you have to focus on the guitar then. And in any sentence, if you make another sentence like I will read, it's called, there is this really great book that I like. It's called The Originals. I will read the originals next week. Right? So I will read the original next week. In this sentence, I am the subject and the doer of the action. So I will be the doer of the action. And the originals, the book, is the receiver of the action. But if I want to shift the focus from from I to the originals, then I would say the originals will be read by me next week. So next week, the originals will be read by me. Anyway, that's that. Let's not waste a lot of time on that and go and talk about the verb tenses that I'm sure we all want to learn. So now, in the verb tenses, we said that there are 12 verb tenses, 4 for each. A moment, please. So we said that there are 12 verb tenses. So for sorry, I'm having technical difficulty. Yep. So we have you have these 4 different verb tenses for the past, for the present, and for the future. That's why we are going to use this format to talk about them. So for simple tenses, remember, it doesn't really matter what timeline it's used in. We always talk about routine, daily activities, or general facts. And also something done or finished. Progressive always talks about continuation. Perfect focuses more on the act itself, and perfect progressive focuses more on the duration of the act. So, for instance, if we take simple tenses for the present, you have I'll change the color. For the present, this is the structure that's always used. You have the subject, you have the verb, and this is a very simple sentence. And you have the object of the sentence. This is a very this is maybe the simplest structure. In this one, if I make a sentence for the present, for a simple one, I could just say, if you're not aware of, subject pronouns, or let's just use names, right? Let's say that subject, let's say doer of the action. And let's say Ahmad. Let's use a verb. Let's use an act. Let's use something that can be done. So Ahmad, reads. What else? Reads book. This is for the present. And we said that in simple tenses, for the present, it talks about daily activities. And if you use the same structure, we could say that Tim, the most overused name in this session. So Tim goes to school every day. Let's not focus on that one. Jim goes to school even if you don't write every day. If you say Jim goes to school, you know that he does it as a routine. It's something that happens, if not always, daily, at least during the weekdays. Okay, so and then you have so they caught a fish. Oh, they caught the fish. We are still in the present. They catch the fish, right? So let's say you have gone to a fishing trip with your friends or families, and then you talk about a group of people and say that, okay, yes, their job is that they catch the fish, and this is something they do. This is general fact. This is about the present, and it's the simplest way you can talk about an action by using the subject, the verb, and the object. This is always the doer. This is always the doer of the action. This is the action itself. And this is the receiver of the action. Doer, action, receiver. This is simple present tense. And if you talk about the past, it's still the same. This structure does not change. For the past, it does not change. There is one really kind of small difference. You use the second part of the verb. If we use the same sentences, we say that we have to, again, let's stick to the same structure, but this time in here I'm going to talk about the past. Okay, and in there we have to use for the past. For the present, let's just in here write verb. Let's use, maybe I should use a different color. This is verb. For the present, for the past, you use the second form of the verb. Let's say verb to. And for the future, you use an auxiliary verb, so kind of a helping verb, which is let's just call it head plus verb, or let's just say HB plus verb. Right? So the subject remains the same. It doesn't really matter whether you're talking about the past, the present, or the future. The subject remains the same. The object remains the same. Only the timeline changes and the verb form changes. And let's go and talk about the past and change these same sentences. By the way, if you can do it on your own, please feel free to write them in the chat box. I'll be glad to read them. And if there is any question that you have about them, do let me know. If I'm going fast at any point, please do let me know in the chat box. So now for the past, I say that we use the same structure, but we just change the first or the base form of the verb to the second form. And if we go on and use the same sentences and talk about the past, then we say Ahmad read book. And usually they give timeline, like last night, yesterday, last week, last year, last century. Okay, and we know that verbs, this is again another topic, because we can't really talk about everything in all the grammatical rules in English. We just try to verb has, so you have the simple form or the base form. Let's call it 1, and you have the second form or the past form, which is 2, and you have the past participle form, which is 3. You have the ing form as well, but it's really easy, so let's just not use that, or not think of that much, because that's not really difficult to understand. So first verb is the base verb, like for instance, the verbs that we have used: go, read, and then catch. So for the second form, for the second form of the verb, you have to change this. Its past form, which is, or the second form, which is went. And by the way, read, spelling wise, remains the same, but when you speak, it kind of changes to read, R-E-D. So read remains the same, but the pronunciation changes. Read, and then catch, caught, and go, went, and the past participle form is gone. And you have read, read, read. It remains the same. And the reason I have used these verbs is that so that there is a chance to talk about the regular and irregular verbs as well, when we when we change them to their past and past participle forms, which we will talk about in a second. So catch, caught, and then the past participle form is again caught. We have to remember this is for the simple tenses, this for the simple present, and of course for simple future. And this one is for simple past tense, and this one is used in perfect tenses. When I say simple tenses, I will use only these two. I will not be using the past participle forms of the verb. Anyway, now let's talk about the past. Okay, Ahmad read book, and usually add a time, as I said, but there is no need to do that. And you say Tim. And going back to here, we have to use the past form of go, which is went. And to school. And then you have last sentence, which is they caught the fish. I'm going to go through this fast because I assume since you are preparing for GED, you don't need me to explain everything in its simplest way. If you don't have any questions, I'm going to erase this page and talk about the future. The ink on this page. And I'll just keep the structure. Okay. So far, we know that for the present or simple present tense, we have the structure subject plus verb plus object. And for simple past tense, we have subject plus verb to plus object. And we said that for the future tense, we have to use helping verbs or auxiliary verbs, which I will talk about in a moment. Okay. So we had for the past, we have subject plus verb. Let's just add a to here and plus object. And maybe like at verb time, like for expression of time. It's not complicated. So you have for the future, I said you have to use helping verb. So you have different types of helping verbs. You have, simple helping verbs like do, to have, and for the future, you use auxiliary verbs like will and going to. So you use one of these two before the verb, and you just say that, okay, as the way we have written it here. Let's say helping verb plus verb plus object. We know that our helping verbs are these two, and now let's try to make sentences using them. The subject, if we continue and talk about the same things, the subject will remain the same. So Ahmad, and if you use one of these two, you have to say will. Ahmad will, and then we should go back to the verb that we had. And as I said in the before cleaning this whole page, I said that we use the base form or the first form of the verbs. Ahmad will not beat. Ahmad will read book. Let's just say a book to make it less confusing. So Ahmad will read a book. We know that whenever we see the auxiliary verb will or going to, it's about the future. The sentence is talking about the future. And then we can add an adverb of time, talk about we'll read a book next week and read a book next decade, next month, and also next century. Okay, Ahmad will read a book. We know that with this structure, we can use this one and change the previous sentence that we use for simple present and simple past as well. So we said that, okay, Tim goes to school. Tim went to school. And here we can say Tim will go to school. Okay. And to change the last sentence, they will catch the fish. Very easy, right? So to recap this whole page, for simple tenses, for simple present tense, we use the structure subject plus verb plus object. And we use, for the subject, we use a doer of the action. A doer can be you, can be anyone, doer of an action. And it's usually a general fact, daily activity, or something that is like a routine. So you say, Ahmad reads a book, I play guitar, I go to the library every day, things like that. I get sick during cold weather. That's a general fact. That's something that happens as a routine. And then we said that if you want to talk about the past, an action that was done, then we use this structure. Subject has the doer of the action. We use the second form of the verb, and we use the receiver of, and we use the receiver for the action. For instance, we said that to change this sentence into its past when we said that, okay, Ahmed read a book, Tim went to school, and they caught the fish. We said for the future, use subject plus helping verb plus object, which the examples for which you can see here. Okay, so maybe I should tell you this one as well. Generally, the difference between using will and going to. Yeah. So going to has to come after to be verbs. And to be verbs, of course, when we are talking about future, we should use am, is, and are. Only these three. We're not going to be using was, were, and also be, been, right? we'll be using, say, okay, Tim is going to go to school. They are going to catch the fish. Ahmad is going to read a book. The difference between using will and going to is that will is generally used when you declare your decision. So now you are sitting right here and you decide at this moment that you want to read a book. And you say, okay, I will read a book next week. Or you decide to go on a vacation. You say that I will go on a vacation next week. And going to is used to talk about a decision that you have made, a decision that is not instantaneous, and a decision that you have thought about previously. So let's say right now you have decided to go on vacation. You say, okay, I'll go on vacation next week. And then tomorrow someone asks you, what are you going to do next week, or what will you do next week? And then you say, I'm going to go on a vacation next week. And the moment you say use the helping verb going to, the person will realizes that it's a decision that you have made previously before declaring that decision to that person. Okay, now let's go to the next one and talk about progressive. Remember this structure, okay? This is very good. So now, we said that for progressive or continuous, it's about duration, so it's subject plus a helping verb let's talk about the present tense. Helping verb to be verbs. Okay. And we will use verb plus ing. Verb plus ing. And we have the object of the sentence. So for subject, again, doer of the action. In active voice, in active tenses, this is always the doer of the action. And this is the action itself. And this is the receiver. Okay. So, and because this is present, we will be using either is, am, are as helping verbs. Now let's write an example. Doer of an action, let's use another name. Let's call it, let's use Sean. Okay, Sean, let's use, since Sean is singular, we cannot use am, we cannot use are, we have to use is. And then let's use a verb, an action. Sean is, let's say, listen, right? And according to the structure, we have to add ing. There are grammatical rules as to how you can add ing, when it's a one syllable, it's a word, it's a verb with only one syllable, then you have to kind of double the last consonant and add ing. And if it ends in y and before y there is a consonant, you have to change y to ie. You can add ing, and if it's ie, you have to change it to y and then add ing, like die, die. When you You say I'm dying, and you can't really write it D-I-E-I-N-G, right? So you have to change I-E to a Y and then add I-N-G. Things like that. So for listening, it's easy. You just add I-N-G. Listen. So Sean is listening to, let's not use prepositions. Sean is listening a song. Okay. Okay. If we again try to find out this again, doer of the action, the helping verb, the action, and the receiver. Great. Let's use the same structure and make another sentence. And this time for one of you guys, let's see. Let's use one of the guys' names. There is someone named Nas. Let's say Nas is not watching, maybe attending is a better word. Nas is attending the GED session. In that, Nas is the doer of the action, is the helping verb, attending is the verb, and then the GED session is the receiver of the action. Anyway, and if we go to the past, again, the helping verb should change as well because SMR, as we all know, for to be verbs. By the way, you might feel that this session is all over the place. And the reason for that is we can't really talk about all the grammatical rules because this is the only session that we are going to talk about this. So I'll have to try to squeeze in as much information as I can. So to be verbs, you have the present, so the base form 1 and form 2. So you have is, you have am, you have are, and you have be, right? And then the second form was, were, and been, maybe not proper one, been. Okay, so for is becomes was, am becomes was, are becomes were, be becomes was, and they all become been. Been is the past partial form of all the to be verbs is MR, be. So if you want to talk about the past, as I said, you have to change the helping verb to be, and also just like the previous one, there is no other change needed to be done. You just say, if we use the same sentences, we say this for the past. We just say that, okay, Sean, for is, as I said, is becomes was. So Sean was listening a song. Listening to a song. Again, can't really resist it. Okay, Sean was listening to a song. And then again in here, Sean is the doer of the action, helping verb plus ing, receiver of the action. And Nas was attending the GED session. Okay. Now let's talk about the difference between the simple and continuous. When you use simple tenses, just like in the previous slide, when you use simple tenses, you talk about an action that's present, an action that is done regularly, or a general fact, like people believe God is one, right? So the world is beautiful. I mean, the world or the earth revolves around the sun. And also you say that a year has 365 days, things like that. So you either use simple present tense, talk about daily activities, general facts, and you use simple past tense, talk about an action that was done in the past at a specific time, usually mention the time as well. Ahmad use this sentence. Ahmad read a book last week. You can even make it more specific, last week on Thursday at 6 p.m. It still does not change anything. And the difference between simple and progressive is that the progressive talks about the duration, the moment that the action is being done. For instance, if you change this sentence, Ahmad reads book, that is a fact. Ahmad, you know that, okay, it's fact, like Ahmad likes reading book. Good. Ahmad reads book every day. Okay, you know, okay, good. This is something, a daily activity. And Ahmad might be sitting there watching TV at this moment. It's fine. But if you say Ahmad is reading the book, then Ahmad is doing that at that moment. So you use progressive tense to talk about an action that's being that's taking place right at the moment of speaking for the present tense. For the past tense, when you talk about, if you mention a specific time, you actually are talking about an action being done at the time that you are talking about. For instance, if you use the same sentence, Ahmad read a book last week at 4 p.m. Okay, we know that Ahmad did something, and by 4 p.m., Ahmad might have been done with reading the book. But if you say Ahmad was reading the book last week at 4 p.m., that means that at 4 p.m. last week, on Thursday, Ahmad was reading the book. Okay, so you talk about, you use progressive tense to talk about an action or an act taking place at the specific moment that you are talking about. So now for progressive tense, for future. For future, again, let me use the eraser to erase this. If you have any questions, please do let me know while I erase this slide. This is a very messy slide. By the way, if I were you, I would be asking questions, because you can watch videos on YouTube, you can do a lot of things. You can find basically anything on the internet. But if you can't find very easily is someone that you can ask your questions from and get the answers to your questions instantly. Okay, so now let's talk about future. We said that for the for progressive tense for the present, we use SMR, and for the past, we use was, and we use were. Now for the future. For the future, we use the same structure, subject plus the helping verb. For the future, we said that either will or going to, and then you have to use the helping verb to be again, but this time it's only be, so there is no need to worry about other ones. And then you have verb plus ing and plus object. Again, if we make a sentence for this, and if we use again Ahmad, then we use the helping verb will, and then we use, as I said in here, be, and then we have to use verb plus ing. The verb was read, so we have to add ing to it. We'll be reading a book. And then we can add a time to that as well. You can say Ahmad will be reading a book next week on Saturday at 4 a.m. Ahmad wakes up pretty early. Right, he's a night owl. Who knows? So in this, again, do a helping verb, be verb ing, do a helping verb for the future, be verb ing, and of course the object, and the object or the receiver of the action. Okay, now let's make another sentence, but this time let's use going to. Let's say John and Tim, they have decided to have a party next week. So you want John and Tim to go out with you, to hang out with you at a different place, and then they say that, okay, no, actually we will be having a party next week at 4. Next week, let's make it more specific, next Tuesday at 4. Right? This means that they might have just decided. But if you go on and then you talk with someone else and they tell you, by the way, are John and Tim coming with us, next week? And then you say, no, John, let's use they. And then you say, they are going to be, they're going to be having a party. Maybe having is not the right word to use in this one. So they are going to be having a party I'll change it. The party next week. Party on, party at that time or on that day. The reason I said having is not maybe a great word because you usually don't add ing to things like to verbs like want, have. You don't say, I'm wanting this. You just say, I want it. They are going to have a party. That's why. Just realized my mistake. Okay. Let's change it to partying. They are going to be partying next Tuesday. At 4. At 4 p.m. Right? So this is how you talk about the future using progressive tense. And again, you mean that at the specific moment that you're talking about, people will be busy doing the action that you are talking about. Again, perfect tenses, this one is a bit maybe complicated in perfect tenses. So as I said in the previous slide, so for you have verb 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so verb 1 meaning that the base form of the verb, verb 2 meaning the second form or the past form of the verb, and verb 3 past participle form of the verb. So you have I said that you have go, and then it changes to went, and then that changes to gone. Let's say you have play, changes to played, and then the past participle is also played. Okay. In perfect tenses, we will be using the last forms or the past participle forms. If I talk about the present, the structure then changes to, the structure becomes something like this. You have I'm just going to write S for subject, okay? By now you know what I mean. So subject, and then you have to use the helping verb of to have verbs. For to have verbs, you have, you have, has, and their past form is had, and their past participle form is also had. So have is used for plural and has is used for singular. So you have subject plus helping verb to have, and then you have as I said, the third form, you have, let's just write V3, and then let's say object. If this is not clear, please let me know in the chat box. Okay, now let's make some sentence. So for subject, doer of an action, again, let's use this time, let's change Tim to Jim. Jim, okay. We said that for singular ones, for singular nouns, and for plural nouns. Jim is singular, so we should use has. Let's use the verb play, and according to the structure, we have to use the past participle form. Has, this one, has played. Jim has played, let's say, let's add receiver, has played guitar. Right? So one of the reasons that people use perfect tenses is because they want to talk about an action that happened in the past or is complete by now, but it still has some kind of effects. Or they could also be talking about an action that started in the past and is still continuing. So Jim has played guitar. This can have both of those implications, meaning that if someone says, "Okay, oh, can you play guitar?" and then someone else says, "Oh, Jim has played guitar," or "Do you want to learn guitar?" Jim has played guitar, and then you can add in your timeline saying, "Okay, since 2000, for 10 years, you use since and for, by the way. You use since when you want to mention a timeline. Since either 4 years ago, since you mentioned a timeline, since last week, since last month, since 2020, and then when you say for, then you mention a duration of time. For instance, for 3 weeks, for 5 weeks, you mention the length of the time. Okay, 5 weeks, for instance. Five weeks. So Jim has played guitar since 2020. This is the same as saying, since March 2020. This is the same as saying Jim has played guitar for more than 2 years. So Jim has played guitar. This is perfect for simple, for perfect tense. For the present, if we go to the past, we say that the past. And then always with the helping verbs, you do not really change the main verb. You just change the helping verbs. And the sentence changes form. So if I write the structure for the past, then I have to say subject plus helping verb, the same one, but two, right? This one, the past. We'll be using this one. So subject plus helping verb. Of course, this is perfect tense, so we have to use to have verbs. And there is only one past form. So we could even avoid writing this. You could say had. No, make it simpler. And then we use verb 3 and then object sentence. If I use the same example and change it to its past perfect, then I should say, oh, then I should say, Jim had played guitar. And then you might say, okay, the first one, this one, present perfect tense, talks about an action, they started in the past and is complete by now. And this one also talks about an action that took place in the past. What is the difference? Talks about an event, maybe. Event is maybe a better word. Anyway, so what is the difference then? The difference between this present perfect tense and past perfect tense is that with past perfect tense, you can talk about an action that actually took place before another action. And for that, you use a simple past tense. You use simple tenses. You use this, you add another sentence, and you add a timeline using this structure. For instance, if I say that I had done something before something else happened, this is the exact structure. You could say Jim had played guitar before, for instance, John before John recorded. This means that this act was done before this. At the end of this, I will actually draw a timeline for you. So no worries if you don't get them by now. Oh, it's 4:16. So for the past perfect tense, you have Jim had played guitar, and then the structure is you have subject plus had plus verb 3 and plus object, and you can add a simple present, a simple past tense sentence to talk about an action that took place after, or you can say that I want to talk about this action, but I also want to mention that this action took place before this action. Then that's when you use past perfect tense. I have to draw a timeline and change the color of this pen. I say, okay, this is the timeline, and this right here is now, and this is when John recorded the, let's say, whatever performance was there, and then this is actually when Jim had played the guitar. This is when this action took place. This is when this action took place, and this right here is the present. You want to talk about this action. This is when we use past perfect tense, and for this action we use simple past tense. It's easy. For the future one, perfect tense for the future, maybe I should keep that. So perfect tense for the future, you want to talk about an action that is in the future and will be completed, right? You want to talk about an action that maybe started here and then went on for a while. You're not talking about its duration. You're talking about the time it will be complete. And then you say things like, okay, I will have done this by the time you arrive. And for that, the structure that we use is the same as the present one, but not exactly the same. Really close. So the structure they use for that one is subject. Again, for the future, you should always use the helping verbs will and going to. And going to is always followed after, or always comes after the to be verbs. So you have to use subject plus to be verbs plus going to. For will, and then you say something like I will, and then you have to use this helping verb. The to have helping verb should not be removed, and you just use its present form. If it's plural, then you use have, and if it's singular, then you use has. You say have, maybe I should write helping verb to have verbs, and then you use verb 3 does not change, and then you have the object. So if I write an example for this, the example for this would be I will have, I will have gone. Right now it's 4:22. I will have gone by, for let's say 50. I will have gone by 4:50 p.m. This means that this action, this is not. I could also say I will go by 4:50 p.m. But that means I might start doing the act of going by 4:50. But when I say I will have gone by 4:50 p.m., that means that when you come here at 4:50, I won't be here. The action will be complete by 4:50. And then just like past perfect tense, you can use a simple present tense. This time for the past, you use simple past tense. For this one, you use simple present tense. To say, I will have gone by 4:50. I will have watched the movie. Yeah, before you arrive. So before you arrive in here is used as a timeline. And we can say that by this time, this act of watching the movie will be complete. And because we have only 6 minutes, so progressive tense again talks about duration. The structure in here does not change. If you have time, I'll talk about this next week as well. But I have to draw you a few timelines for the 12 active tenses. So you have, let's say if this is a timeline and this is right now, this here is right now, this is the past. I'm going to name this 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so this is the past and this is the future. For all of them, we have simple tenses, we have progressive tenses, and we have perfect tenses. If I were to use number 1, if I were to use this one in simple tenses, that means that this is a routine, daily activity, general fact for the present. If I use number 1 for the past, it means that this action is done sometime in the past, and the time can be specified as well. If I use number 2 for the present, if I maybe I go for the future as well, if I use number 1 for the future, this means that this action will take place or will start taking place at a specific point or at some point in the future. It's up to the subject of the sentence, the doer of the action. If I use number 2 for the present, that means that the action started somewhere in the past and is still continuing. If I use number 2 for the past, it means that the action started in the past and about the time that I'm talking about the time that has passed I'm talking about, let's say last week at 4 p.m., last week on Thursday at 4 p.m., that's the example that I gave, then that means that the action started actually before that, and at that time it was still going on. If I use number 2, meaning progressive tenses, for the future, it means that the time that I am talking about, the time in the future that I'm talking about, this is where the action will be happening, meaning that the action will start before the time that I'm talking about and will be in continuation, will be continuing. For instance, I will be watching a movie next week on Saturday at 7 p.m., for example. This means that watching a movie will start maybe around, at least before 7, we know that, and then by at 7, I will be busy watching the movie, right? So, and if you use number 3 for the present, this means that the action is started in the past, and it's either complete by now, so complete in the past as well, but the effects can be seen in the present, like I have played guitar. That means that I can play guitar. Now, I have been to Jakarta. That means I know a few things about Jakarta. I have learned Indonesian. That means that there are some things that I might know about Indonesia and the Indonesian language. If you use number 3 for the past, that means that the action took place sometime in the past and was complete in the past. And usually you use past perfect tenses because you want to talk about this action taking place before another one. as we said, before a simple present tense, a simple past tense action. And you want to talk about if you use it for the future, that means that the action will be complete in the future, and you will use a simple present tense, like you other times like when, by the time, and then you add a timeline as well. And for number 4, if you use perfect progressive tense for the present, that means that your focus is on the present and the duration. I have been, for instance, speaking for the last hour and a half. That means I can say I have spoken for an hour and a half. That's good. But when I say I have been speaking for an hour and a half, that means I'm more kind of emphasizing on the duration of the action. Again, if you use it for the past, again, your focus is on the duration. And if you use it for the future, your focus will be on the duration. Next session, we'll talk about parts of speech, and I will actually create a form tomorrow and we'll put it on Notion page. I think the time is up. Wow, this was a lot to take in, but it's fine. From now on, it's going to be it's going to be fun because you will learn a lot. I hope you have learned enough, and this is it. Thank you so much, everyone, and I hope you have learned something. By the way, if you do have any questions, please do let me know through the Mentimeter code that you have. If you don't have access to the Mentimeter code, it's fine. Please do let me know.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation today. I hope that everyone gained a lot of knowledge and insights from today's session. And I would like to inform you, for those of you who are interested in joining more of our events and programs here in Ad America, you can visit our website at www.atmerica.or.id. And we also have our social medias. We've got Instagram, Twitter, and also Facebook at AT America. I would also like to thank our facilitator today, to Zach. Thank you so much for today's session. And with that, I think it is time to say goodbye. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you soon at the next Ad America event.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Ad America. My name is Aninda, one of the EGATs here in Ad America, and we welcome our audience joining us on in this event. Ad America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. On this event, we'll be having fraud busters to invest or not to invest. But speaking of investment, I would like to share a hack with you. Did you know that the total of investment fraud losses in Indonesia reached 117 trillion rupiah from illegal online loans, illegal crypto assets, Ponzi schemes, and so much more? So the risk is there, and we'll figure out how to avoid such risk. Well, without further ado, I would like to pass the floor to our moderator. She is CEO of Antawijaya Consulting, Mbak Clara Antawijaya. The floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and also the speakers. Hello, good evening. And first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Clara Antawijaya, and I'll be today's moderator for today's event. So welcome to Ad America, which is the U.S. Embassy's cultural center that is located in South Jakarta, Indonesia. Thank you, Ad America, for having me. I'm very truly honored. And yes, not only offline, but our event is also an online event. So you guys can join us through the Zoom platform, and also you can watch us through YouTube channel of Ad America. And also if you want to ask questions to our speaker, you can deliver the question by clicking the Q&A button. And yes, I would like to greet all participants that is connected with us through online. Hello. And I would like to greet all the participants in here through offline in Pacific Place. So when I say hello at America, you guys have to say hello as well, but as loud as possible, okay? In order to make a good vibrations in here, okay? Hello at America. Oh, thank you for such good vibrations. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, our today's topic is about casual talks on fraudbusters, to invest or not to invest. Well, actually, I really like these kind of topics because, well, I was a newscaster and Indonesia Stock Exchange channel or IDX channel. I was a business journalist as well, and right now I'm an investor in capital market. And I do believe it's about me, but when it turns out to be investment, well, I think everyone has its own story. It has its own beginning and also its own ending. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we can see that right now investment is not a, it was a very fancy thing, but right now investment, we can do investing by ourselves right now because it is very reachable in this online era. But so basically the basic storyline goes like this. You work so hard and then you earn your money and you save it and you want to invest it to gain more, to gain profit. But however, when you take wrong decisions or maybe you have lack of knowledge about investing, you will have your loss and you lost your money, and then eventually you lost your future plans, and we don't want to have to do that, and we just want to avoid that. So right now, we will talk about this, invest or not to invest. Of course, with a speaker that's really capable on talking about this discussion. So I would like to welcome on the floor the investor in venture capital and private equity. Please welcome Mr. Randy. Hello, Mr. Randy, how are you? Please, you can sit next to me.
Hello, thank you, Clara, for the introduction.
Yes, how are you? Oh, okay, Miss, good, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you for asking, Clara.
Well, you are a very practitioner in this era. I think you are the investor right now in the venture capital, and I do believe that you are very capable on talking about this, to invest or not to invest. So without further ado, I do believe you have a good explanations to our participants right now. So without further ado, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks again, Clara. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to at America and Tim for having me here. I'm truly honored to be invited here as one of guest speakers, and not not let's not forgetting about our audience for sparing their time to attend this event. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start our session, I will tell you a short story about a little guy. This little guy was a student in a particular university. He wasn't very bright. He had no any academic records or skills, and even worse, he lacked of social skills. Um, and he got pressured by among other students because I think it's obvious that he wasn't the chosen one in this story. And one day he suddenly got motivated after hours of motivational and self development videos. Um, he got motivated and he tried to push his boundaries and limitation, especially over his financial aspect because that is the most measurable things that he can do at that time. And not long before that time, there is a certain community named MMM, or manusia membantu manusia, or human helping human lah. This 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 community was quite famous in the past because they help people to collect the money, and they repay back this money along with the interest rate, certain interest rate, maybe around 30% a month, and for during that time that goes well. So this little guy decided to sell all of his college equipment, such as laptops, TVs, and another similar things, and he put all the money into this community. Hours become hours, days become days, and months become months. He think that maybe there is some mistakes because he didn't receive any of return or principal or interest rate at that time. But um, it was 3 months waiting game until it was due, uh, and suddenly he watched the news that um, that that told him about this MMM community was an investment fraud, and I think he felt embarrassed, humiliated, desperate, or whatever you want to call it, and uh, I'm sure that it was his desperate moment. I think it was a really condescending moment for him. Uh, but you know what? That person was me in the past. I sold everything, not so much money, but I put everything I've got in the past, and I gambled it in this community, in this out of nowhere community, and since that day, it is sad story indeed. But since that day, I swore to myself that I want to help people through my privilege in financial investment background, and won't let them to be deceived by another community like this. That is sad story indeed. But the point why I tell you this story is this story is most important foundation for you to understand and understand what are my motives to be sitting here with Clara, because I want to help you, and through our materials I want to I'll be covering from chapter 1, the fundamental, chapter 2, common investment fraud in Indonesia. And in the chapter 3, I'll be completing our session by covering topics such as understand how the typical scammers work, and I'll be also sharing about the valuable resource that you can use, that I also personally use to speed up your investment and financial objective.
Before we start the discussion and your explanations, that story was very, heartwarming, and I do believe that all people can be inspired by that. So, can we give round of applause for our speaker here, Mr. Randy? Wow,
Thank
you
you.
started from minus, and look at you now sitting here and talk to us as the expert. Okay, please continue your explanation.
Thank you, Clara. It was a it was a sad story indeed, but like I said, I swore to myself to continue this journey, and I want to help people. So moving on to our materials, I'll be starting with the chapter 1. It's about the fundamentals and basic principle of investment thesis that we can learn to speed up the our objective. So basically, this fundamental is talking about the differences between investment versus speculating. There are many people. Many of my friends told me that they invested in NFTs and cryptos, but I think they don't know what they're talking about or what they're really doing, because from the basic itself, NFTs and cryptos, by doing that, you are not investing, you are speculating. And then there is a huge difference between these two things. So what the differences? I'll cover the investment and speculating, as we'll be skipping over the saving, because I think we are already knowledgeable about the saving method when you put your money into deposit in bank. So for the investing, uh, it, it aim for a higher growth, but in long-term game. While in speculating, you aim for very high growth, but with a very short in a short-term timeline. And where in investing, you can use the typical investment instruments such as stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, or reksadana, you can call it. And for the speculative is NFTs, cryptos, saham gorengan atau penny stock, maybe commodities, future option, and so on. So basically, I think this is one of the most important things to learn, because by learning this, we have this strong foundation before can move forward into the next opportunity, investment opportunity. So I divided the investing versus speculating based on these 5 aspects: time horizon, level of risk, investor attitude, decision criteria, and example instrument. Short story, the investment is for long-term game, while speculating is for short-term game. Level of risk, low to moderate for investing, and speculating is more aggressive to very aggressive. While on investing, we tend to use the fundamental basis, while on the speculating, we use a technical chart, psychology, and behavior analysis. And this one is the instrument that I've said before. Next. To get you the whole big picture about all the investment that we can use, I classified, I captured this and classified the classification based on their classification and instruments related to each of these classification. For example, for saving, we can use saving account, money market, deposit, saving, and like a government bonds, because it tend to be more secure than corporate bonds. For investment, stocks, mutual funds, real estate, index, and corporate bonds. And while on this one on the a higher level, which means higher potential upside along with higher risk related to it. We can use future, commercial paper, option, and collectibles such as NFTs and cryptos. And for the chapter two, we'll cover about the investment fraud common cases in Indonesia that happened in the past. So to be start with this session, I want to introduce you. You may feel familiar with Ponzi or pyramid scheme, but this Ponzi scheme was founded by Charles Ponzi. So basically, this Ponzi or pyramid scheme was designed by the mastermind to collect all the money from people in the middle, and people in the middle collect the money from people at the bottom, and this cycle will going continuously until there is no one else that willing to invest their money anymore, and at that time this pyramid will be ruined. They will be doomed because there is nothing there is no amount to put in anymore in this pyramid, and this investor at the bottom will be the victims. Basically, this scheme is kind of similar with multi-level marketing, but uh, multi-level marketing has real products, real service with real business value, while on the Ponzi they don't have any of it. Uh, they just paid the members based on the recruitment. So if you get the new members, you will get the money from them and so on. So that's basic for Ponzi. This is the first case, I've said before, is manusia membantu manusia. This community was quite popular in the past, founded by Sergei Malvrodi. He already passed away anyway. Basically, he promised 30% in 1 month or 200 and 2,300% in 1 year without with minimum 100K and maximum 10 million. Uh, they were doing it without any real products, without any business value. They just operating under scheme of people helping people without any business value to support their financial. It doesn't make sense at all. This one is Sergei Mafrodi. And for the second case, we will talk about the robot trading. This robot trading was quite famous in the past 2 years, as they promise you to give back all your money with the certain return, let's say 1% to 5% in a day. So the analogy is like this. Would you like to give the formula that will make you that can make you richer than Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Jack Ma? I don't think so. If I had that formula, trust me, I wouldn't be here. I will use that formula to invest in robot trading. And one of the famous robot trading in the past, you can call it Gain BTT, but let me ask you something. Do you want to invest with people like this, the name people like this in this community? You want to invest and put your money? I don't think so. Look at this. Anto Crypto, Bang Jackson. I don't want to underestimate someone, but this is a pure speculation, okay? Ken Arok. I mean, come on. And for the third case, it's about illegal equity crowdfunding. So for the basic, there's nothing wrong with equity crowdfunding. Basically, equity crowdfunding is like the when someone has the project and they want to they need the capital, they collect the money from a pool of money from the personal investor like you guys, and they promise a certain returns based on the profit that they've got from the business. There's nothing wrong with equity crowdfunding, but sorry. But in the past, this organization, this was based on OJK list anyway. So I think this credible source. This organization was doing it in wrong way. They promised a astronomical returns without in fact they didn't give any of it. And for the fourth case, a misleading unit link. In the past, insurance company was being issued by the clients because of this, because of unit link. But the problem with unit link was not the instrument itself. The problem was the agent that promised the clients to get a high return without any risk. And what happened after that? The client didn't receive any of investment back, even for the small interest rate. They didn't receive any of it. So this can be the case that we should learn in the future about insurance. AXA, AIA, Prudential were the insurance company that being issued and had a big problem in the past with the clients because of this. Don't get me wrong, insurance is important, but you must divide it. Health insurance and investment account. They should be separated. And for the fifth case, we'll talk about the penny stock or saham gorengan. So basically, this penny stock was the if you ever heard a blue chip stock or stock with a high capitalization in market like Unilever, Gudang Garam, or so on. They're basically has a lower volatility in the market, and they backed up by the real business. But in the penny stock, they don't do that. They even manipulate the market with the mastermind behind them, and they totally control the market. This is the example of the penny stock in Indonesia or saham gorengan, such as MYRX, which owned by Benny Chokro, who was running into problem with Jiwasraya, if you know that, and Bakri, which also famously known as a mastermind behind these stocks. And for the last cases, we'll talk about the NFTs and cryptos. There are so many people who invested in NFTs and cryptos while they're not fully understand how they works, how they work. So basically, NFTs and cryptos is like a collectible assets, such as painting, art, or rare coin, and so on. Where the prices was defined by the pure supply and demand, but not by the real value of the asset itself, real value in this real world. They only valuable in the digital metaverse and so on. What they do? Let's say this. A cryptocurrency was produced by the miner through the intensive computer hardware, and while the NFTs was produced by artists that created their paintings or art and translated them into a digital assets, and they sold them to the market. But in fact, they, like I said, they don't have any real value that and real functionality in this real world, like houses, your clothes, or food. It will make you satisfied, right? But this NFT is only applied, and NFTs and crypto only applied in a digital universe. If you ever had a board API club or metaverse land for sale, and even worse, our Indonesian public figures was creating, was blindly creating, I would say that, was blindly creating their individual coins and name after their coins like Ashanti and Anang with Asics, or iCoin from Wirda Mansur and Lesor coin from Billiard and Lesti Kejora. Uh, I apologize to say this, but I don't think they really understand what they did. This, why they're doing this. I don't think they understand the basic principle, and it makes them, it makes them as a part of the mastermind, right? And will be the victims. And finally, in chapter 3, we'll cover some methods on how to be an intelligent investor. Uh, start by understanding how typical scammers works, and how there's promotional style in the next. So basically, they promise on typically they promise unlimited return with no risk at all, and they promise they propose a delusional business model with a short term timeline. Like I explained before, these typical scammers over the personal investor with a with what is that? With a with a sloppy investment, and they have no structure ownership. They don't have business activities, and their financial was only supported by the recruiting activities, and the scheme is a more like money game or Ponzi scheme, and there are no real products or real services to support their financial activities in the future. This I took it from CNBC. And the promotional styles. Look, I don't know why these people often to take photos and posing in front of private jet, fancy cars. Even worse, they try to burn the money. Look at this Raffi Ahmad mun ketar ketir. You may know Indra Kens. It was already caught. Um, I don't know. But I think they scheming this promotional style to make the victims feel insecure about their financial position, and they try to take advantage of it. So my suggestion is don't do this. Okay, you will regret this. And finally, free valuable resources that you can use, that I also personally use. Um, don't go into the intelligent investor book first if you're still the beginner, new guy or new girl in the neighborhood, or even you in the middle class. This book is only for advanced, so I not recommend this. Instead, you can use Tony Robbins of Money Master, Psychology of Money, and ultimately Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Um, this should be this should be your good. This should be a good foundation for you to learn more in finance and investment industry. So that's all. To invest or not invest, that's a tough question for me. But it really depends on your risk profile, your financial background, your financial objective and motives. But as as Warren Buffett say, this one is also the online resource that you can use, such as Big Alpha, Woke Salaryman, and online presents in YouTube. So uh, backwards for a moment. To invest or not to invest, like I said, it is very tough question, but it is really depends on your risk profile, financial motives, and your speed to achieve this financial uh, aspects. But as Warren Buffett said, never invest in a business you cannot understand yourself. Only invest in a business you understand. That's all. Thank you. Thank you for listening. My name is Randy Putra.
Thank you very much for your presentations. It's very insightful for all of us and also including me because I'm an investor myself and I should know my risk profile first and then I can invest into which kind of investment that I want to expand my wealth. Okay, so actually, Randy, you told us before regarding the investment. So there are so many kinds of investment. It depends on our risk behavior and risk profile. But actually, about portfolio diversifications, do you have any tips or do you have any preferences or what do you think is the most ideal way to mix your investments?
Since you put it that way, I may go with my personal way, yeah, personal approach. But for the young adults, such as millennials and Gen Z, I would recommend you to not be too aggressive of your investment, but instead, I would tell you to invest in something that you understand and in something that sustainable. You want to know my portfolio, I will share it. I will gladly share it. So basically, I personally use index fund. It's like a similar to mutual fund, but in mutual fund there is a manager, investment manager that manage your money. But in index fund, you're the one that take the responsibility to manage your investment, and along with the diversification, along with the kind of typical asset you used to import in your portfolio, and with the um, a strategy like rebalancing portfolio and so on, it would be a huge benefit for you in the future, and it almost in more predictable that way than if you put your money in a speculative investment like that one I told you before.
Okay, I can tell that you are kind of risk averse person, if I may say, because you don't really like speculations, I think. All right,
You
then.
can say that.
Okay, then. So, well, I know that some people use, such a financial advisor to help to manage their portfolio, their investment portfolio, but sometimes we have to know also about these financial advisors. Either they charge you fee or they take percentage from your profit. So, what do you suggest? Use financial advisor for the beginner or just DIY, do it for yourself? Because you told us before that there are so many sources to learn about investment these days. You can find it in online platform or online or offline platform as well. So, which one do you think is the best?
Mm, I will go straight forward. Yeah, you can use the portfolio by if you want to write this, you can use the portfolio by Ray Dalio. If you know, he is like a hedge fund manager, world class hedge funds manager, and he created this specific asset allocation based on which one works best for investor that prefers sustainable investment, and that really works because um, especially for young adults, you may be planning about your future investment, right? So I think by making it more predictable, you can focus on another thing such as to enhance your revenue generator, or maybe you want to cost, or maybe you want to focus on the efficiency, and you can put your money back into the asset and make it larger than before. And using the compounding is also beneficial for you, as Warren Buffett said, a eighth wonder.
Well, when you put it that way, sometimes it's very hard for me to accept the reality that right now I'm an adult and I have to plan for the future. And I see that these faces are millennials, I guess. So you don't have to reject the fact that you are all grown ups. So I will open the opportunity for you all to, okay, that lady over there, can we give the mic, please? All right. Please, your name and your question.
Hello, guys. Okay, my name is Mian, and I want to ask three questions. Okay,
Oh.
All right.
for the first question is for us, the beginner like me, like I do not understand at all about of investment or investment things. That every time my friends talking about this, and I'm just like, I just like a Patrick Star. Like I don't know, I don't get it. But I really need an advice for us to how about the object of the infestation in sorry infestation itself? What is the safest object to invest for the beginner? As we know that we have cryptocurrency or bitcoins or NFTs and blah blah, and that you already told us before, and also maybe property or gold, or let's say maybe some celebrities say it's bags or their fancy stuff, or or in the metaverse world. I mean, like, it's, I know it's digital, but if you really want to buy a land there, it's, well, it's quite expensive, just like in the real world, and also stocks. So that's my first questions. And my second question is, what is the most common mistakes that we as a young generation should avoid? Like, you know, the newest news from our Minister of, well, Sri Mulyani say that Indonesian younger generation most likely unable to buy a house. It's kind of scary for us because, yeah, the house right now is kind of not make sense at all. The price is not make sense at all, and it's kind of scary. People that, yeah, struggle, like, the underdog. And the third question, my last question is, there's also a lot of Instagram celebrity that promote a platform for investing or for saving your money. Is there any tips for us to filter the platform that may suitable for us, because we don't want that, more fraud kind thing happen again? Okay, that's all the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. Three questions at a time, so we will discuss it
you,
one
Mia.
by one, okay? So the first question, it's about which investment is, the safest.
So I think basically my answer will cover point one or point one and two, or maybe you can include it point three also. But for a young generation like us, I'm also a millennial, and what I can do to prevent and avoid all these scammers and all this mastermind behind, uh, I will talk to myself first. If I got an investment opportunity, I will tell to myself first. I will ask about their business. What is their business? What is the model behind their business? What are the source of revenue generator behind them? And it will leave you with a follow up questions like, what is this revenue generator is makes sense or not? And it will make you more conservative. And one thing to say for young adults, um, the thing is, our generation is tend to have the ridiculous expected numbers in our mind, you know. uh, like before, they expected about 30% a month, which is not possible at all. Where the common banks like BCA or Mandiri, they will give you interest rate, sure, but they will give you only about 4% to 6% a month. And how did you do that? How 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 do you beat them? How do you give this 30% a month? It's a lot of question for them, and I don't know uh, if I have any methods to prevent the to filter the social media that makes us feel vulnerable because of the fake news and investment fraud and so on. But by having those two perspective in mind, it will make you feel feel responsible for your investment, and you tend to be more um, defensive to your investment, and that's what I will do if I were you. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's about how the beginner wants to make investment. So you need to.
And you will expect a certain numbers in your investment, right? The hardest part is to make it predictable, and that is called time value of money. So let's say, can you predict the 10 year of your 1 million? How will this number become in the future, right? And no one can guarantee this. Maybe in the 3 or 4 year in the future, we will expect like a certain crisis like COVID, or like crisis in the 2008, like crisis mortgage and so on. So basically, the most important to me is to make it predictable. And if you say yes, I heard the news about the Sri Mulyani, which um, she said about the young generation will be unable to afford any houses in the future. What I can say is, um, I've done a lot of research and analysis in based on my privilege in finance and investment background. And what I can say is, how about if I can say that you can still afford to buy a house, maybe in the uh, 10 or 20 years, um, with your investment, with the rate daily methods. And what makes more interesting is because it is predictable. It has a predictable return, and the return is compounding, and you eventually you will achieve the numbers so you can afford the houses you want. But um, um, what you need to do is, you need to keep this formula for yourself, and at the same time you have to try to enhance your revenue capability, where you can put your more money in this portfolio, and that money will be compounded over the time, and you can afford a house, really.
The power of compounding. I read that on the psychology of money, right? That was a really good book if you want to buy to understand more about investment. Yeah, well, I will lend you. Okay, so the best scenario to buy a house, which I do believe that we are all, as millennials, concerned about this because the house price is kind of lunatic right now. It's kind of nonsense because it's so expensive. But actually, we can buy the house only if we earn more, and we have to make our revenue stream, other revenue streams, and also we can take the passive income and compound it and then buy a house. Well, it's not as easy as that actually. It's kind of easy to say that, but in reality, well, we have to make a good investment first, and then we can compound from the passive income.
I think all you need to do is to have the uh, to have a discipline over your investment, yeah. Because I think this formula is absolute, and what you need to do is you have to focus on the other side, which is revenue,
Yes.
your revenue stream. So once this problem of investment portfolio is completed, right? You have the ultimate formula. You can focus on another else.
Well, the key is discipline, right? And moreover, we as millennials, we can see the social media nowadays, everyone is flexing. And we can say that that kind of amount of money is kind of nonsense for us right now. But somehow we have to be disciplined to earn more money and get well another income stream, revenue streams, and also don't get so when we see social media, we tend to see the people, oh, this person has reached this stage, this point. So, well, actually we all have different kind of timeline, and I think that the key is being disciplined as soon as possible, right? So actually, we are all Patrick Star in the beginning, and if we have a plain life, we may be a Squidward, but we can be Mr. Crab eventually, right?
Well, at the same time, you can be a SpongeBob, laughing every day without worry.
All
If you have ultimate portfolio, right?
Oh yeah, in the midst of okay, I see. So yeah, well, that's really applicable. Yeah, this the SpongeBob theory, we can say. All right then. So I would like to ask you questions here. I saw that that you explain us about the insurance and the unit link. I think this is very provocative, if we may say, because somehow those people are not assigned for the unit link. It's about the agent, right? Well, this is the scary part. How about the unit link for you as investment? Is it good, or actually it's a kind of risk averse, or do you think it needs advanced methodology to end up having unit link?
Uh, so, so we can be on the same page. I'll explain about the unit link first. Yeah. So basically, the unit link is the investment the investment created by the insurance company by using your monthly premium, and being separated from the health insurance. They also manage your investment, and by doing this, they promise you to not to pay the monthly premium at the year three onwards, I think. But on the downside, from the start on to year three, you need to pay higher monthly premium than than a usual premium from health insurance, right? That's the case, and um, it may sound provocative, but I'm just telling the truth. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with this. What you can do to for me at least, unit link is not the kind of investment you want, because you cannot control and manage it yourself. Okay. Instead, it doesn't give you a power to over your investment, and when the things go bad, you have no control over it, and all you can do is to receive anything that comes in front of you, right? So I think that is not the best option for us. So what I will do is to separate and purely investing on the investment my investment account, which is not unit link. It is a different account. I separate my investment account, and I also separate my health insurance account. That's the best case for me because by doing this, you may maximize the benefits of the health insurance, and you can claim more for the maximum upside if you want to do this. And for the investment side, you can take control over your investment, and you can put all the assets you want under your own responsibility. So if anything goes bad, I think it's your responsibility at least, not another person.
Questions again, maybe another questions from you. It's okay. And we will discuss it again. So I have this one question from our online participant from Tommy.
Please.
The question is in bahasa Gordon. Sebagai mahasiswa pasti kepikiran goals yang kelak harus dicapai seperti rumah, nikah. Oh wow, a good partner is also an investment, right? Bagaimana cara berinvestasi saat masih belum punya penghasilan yang besar? Okay, that's kind of a realistic question, I think. Because actually, I just saw a fact that was provided by Statistic Indonesia that say that the millennials' average wages is between 6 to 7 millions. Can you imagine buying a house from that wage? But that's the reality. So please.
The thing is, I think the main problem is how we spend the money. Okay, is how we use the money, whether it's really for useful on a useful account or for tertiary or so what my recommendation is, if you remember my story in the first time, my background was also from you can say an average person with little support from the environment. And what I did in the past is I try to find my other revenue streams than the main revenue. You can do anything, please. In my opinion, in my personal opinion, when you say it like that, when you put it that way, I'm hearing that just you're making an excuse for yourself, because I think in this digital technology and innovation era, you can do anything to make money. You can be a YouTuber. You can selling second-hand things, and basically you can do anything. Yeah, it only depends on your creativity. So if you put that way, I'm sorry to say this, but either you are not creative enough to find another way, or you just find excuse for yourself. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Okay, then. So actually, in this digital era, I can conclude that Miiverse, in this digital era, it's kind of it's kind of tricky because it's just like both sides had opportunity. First thing first, you can gain a lot of money. Like there are so many income streams right now. You can sell anything online. You can bring a whole new job into the world. But somehow, and the other side, we can spend more because right now, who doesn't have shopping applications right now in that phone? I guess the first thing in the morning that I see is
My wife is also having that.
yeah, right. Go wife. Yeah, well, that's the thing because we can earn more or either we can spend more like that. So, do you have any question? Yes. Of course, if you want to.
Sure, sure.
So yeah, but in his question, I think some point that I get it because I assume that Tommy guy, is that a guy? I don't want to assume the gender.
I think
Yeah, gender
of
is kind
course,
of yeah.
Okay.
it's Tommy
Okay.
girl.
um, is he Jakartans? That's a
I do believe that they don't. He doesn't mention
You mean a
anything.
Doesn't
standard of
mention-
living?
Yes,
right?
that's
Yes.
what I'm going to say. The standard of living in Jakarta is crazy, like super crazy,
Oh,
like
wow.
that crazy. And also that a lot of people, also a sandwich generation, or maybe an orphan, or maybe that a person needs to fulfill their family, their brother, a little brother, or little sister, and etc. And that's really, really make them maybe if you say it kind of yeah, I know the struggle is real, the creativity is real, but that's the main problem that some people just don't have enough source to invest because they have to give their salary to this and this and this, especially for the sandwich generation. So I mean, and not all people have talents to make a YouTube channel, and that's not easy to have a big platform like talking in a YouTube and such and etc. There's also rules that you need to like minimum subscriber or likes, and that's not an easy way to do it, right? Or maybe like a TikTok or something, or reselling things while you're also working. It's not as simple as that. So maybe is there any like a solution that beside that, because I also a sandwich generation, and I kind of feel like it's not offensive. I'm not being offensive, but I understand that kind of position. At that kind of position, for example, for me, I do that. I know that my salary is not enough for me to live here, to pay my rent, to pay my bills, to feed me, to give my money to my mother and my siblings. And so I do another thing such as tarot reading or maybe an in-house lawyer, but it's project-based things. That's for example, but not of people have an ability to do that. So is there any other solution about that, about the sandwich generation? Thank you.
I think it was a good question because it's kind of practical of standard living in Jakarta, right? But may I ask you one question, Mia? Sorry. Um, how you spend your money from your salary? I mean, the classification. If you pay rent, or maybe you can give it to your parents.
Yeah, I also I understand about financial. Not everybody does, but thank God I understand how to manage my financial situation. So there's a lot of box that I should fulfill first, like okay, pay the rent first, and then this first, and then etc etc, and then like okay, it's like losses. Let's just my salary just gone without it. It's just the second day of my my payday, for example. So I have to looking another way. Okay, like you said that maybe you can do something like being a reseller, or maybe become a internet celebrity and stuff. But yeah, then again, I mean, like, what's wrong with the system?
Well, that's a question is very realistic. And the standard of living, I can tell that I've been through that phase actually. From that, that point of view, Jakarta is very expensive. Well, you work in the office in the middle of Jakarta horse, where Starbucks costs you like 50,000 rupiah, and your salary is only 5 million. Oh my God, I'm renting.
And pay
So
later.
well, I know it's very hard, and for you and maybe some people are in the sandwich generations. It's so hard. I can imagine. So, do you have any solutions to this matter?
I have a couple of solutions for you that may be practical for sandwich generation. Um, so I also I created a small business UMKM in the past 2 years, and it cost me about maybe about 40 million rupees, 40 million rupees, and it is a cleaning services, and What I can say by putting my money, by saving and putting my money for 40 million, which you can do it, not one time, yeah, but you can save money month by month, and you put that effort, you can earn more than your salary. It is case for myself. Okay, so I think it is practical, and um, I am also a big believer in innovation technology, where you say pay later of e-commerce, like uh, I can say, I couldn't say the brand yet. But basically, for my case, let's say my wife, um, she's a she's kind pretty consumptive on a certain brand, e-commerce brand, but uh, when I learned how this e-commerce and marketplace, how they operate, is that you can make money by affiliate marketing if you pretty consumptive on the e-commerce. I mean, let's say you can buy a blazer, yeah, a blazer. You may feel the blazer is satisfy you enough, and you want to recommend this to another people. You can register for affiliate marketing and get a certain percentage for every blazer you sold to another people. That's one solution for your case. And as I'm saying before, I don't think there is a single one that doesn't have any exit plan. Okay, that's all thing I told to myself, even for now. And for the third solution, if I were in your position, uh, maybe I would considering to move to another city to press my budget to press my rent budget, and while maybe you can use the commuter line to press your transportation budget. It is also practical, even though it requires a sacrifices, and to sacrifice your convenience and pride. So okay, so I think that
Mhm.
I would do if I were in your position.
I'd love to, but work from office already
All right then.
applying. So
So press the budget, increase the income, find exit plans. There are tons of exit plans actually, but we have to find the
Yeah.
most suitable ones for us.
The main thing that you can do, and I can do for myself to improve my quality of life. There's only two way. Okay, either to increase your revenue, or you press your budget, press your expense. But the thing that is important, to press a budget, there is a limitation. Okay, but to increase the revenue, you will have no limitation, as long as your revenue generator not directly related to your time. Okay, so it's called a scalability in business. So basically, if you put in our regular workplace, if I put, let's say, eight work hours, then I will get this in certain amounts of salary, right? But in another way, if your time is not directly related to your income, you can, by putting 1 hours, you can get the same amount. Okay, then that's the scalability. And I think there are some resources to learn about this scalable business or scalable activities that you can do personally, even personally. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for explanations. Thank you for the discussions. It's very realistic for us and this generations. I think sandwich generations is one of the thing right now. It's really important to say the messages that they want to convey. And I think based on this storyline, I guess we all have our own story in investing, I think, yeah. Because for me, the first time I do invest, it was a long time ago because I pretty sure I knew that I cannot put one egg in a basket. I have to put eggs all over the basket because I do believe if one egg is messed up, then my life is messed up. Well, what I can say is like never put one egg in a basket. You have to make it diverse as you could.
Um, in reality, it's kind of bit of contradictive about the Warren Buffett ideology to not put one egg in one basket, right? But in my perspective, you don't put your one egg in one basket that you can control, that you can manage. Okay, so like Clara, herself, he managed to secure a business that she can control by putting maybe his capital or money in the business, and but you can actually control that, and you set the realistic expectation when the money are coming in or coming out, and that's the one thing that we should learn from having a business. It really empower us to and give us the option to choose our fate over the financial aspect. Thank you.
Okay, I see. Well, choosing the right investment is very in the core of our life decisions. And just now, I have discussions with my friends back then. Do you think that finding a good partner is also an investment?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that is a single most important thing in my life, and because it will define the future version of me, whether I will become better or worse. And uh, the thing is, your partner will define how your growth of development will how much how many growth you can do in the your marriage journey, in your life journey with your partner. So yes, indeed, I would say that my partner is the best investment I can make.
Shout out to your wife there. Whoa, you are such a. Can we have a round of applause for the wife, Robbie? Okay. And it can be solution as well for you. Your question back then. What is the other solution? Maybe find a good partner, rich partner. No, I'm just kidding.
It's also an option, sure.
Let's be
being a trophy
realistic.
wife.
Be a trophy
But you
wife.
must remember to find a rich partner means you will have the greater responsibility to fulfill the expectation from the his environment, right? So that's your
Right.
responsibility.
Yeah, that's one of the considerations because somehow before we take a look for the rich partner, or maybe we can say it in soft sounds like good partner, we have to see ourselves first. Am I that worth it? Am I that good? Yeah, I am. So then, yeah, we can go find a good partner. So good partner is kind of investment. Yeah, I do believe that so because when we choose wrong partner, we can say that it's a fraud investment too because it will disease what we have. We can lose tons of money,
Everything.
everything, because divorce is very expensive. I learned that from a movie so called, what's that? A movie about marriage that is
The
divorce.
marriage.
The marriage,
No, no,
right?
the story of marriage. Marriage story. Marriage story.
Marriage story. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
start.
the divorce is not that expensive, but the inheritance is the
Yeah,
expensive thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially if you have kids, right?
Oh my God. So we changed the gears in here. So To invest or not to invest? Well, actually, the question is that. So I think, for my personal opinions, based on our discussions, we have to invest, but we have to think twice, thrice about the investment that we want to invest, because wrong decisions about investment, it will lead us into wrong path of life. Do you agree with that?
Agree. Invest in something you really understand. Okay, that's what I'm saying to speed up your objective, really realistic objective in this real world, right?
Yeah, we have to have realistic objective, because when we say only to invest or not to invest, well, somehow we have tendency to forget what's lay behind our decisions. We have our parents to feed, maybe the sandwich generations, or we have the spouse to feed, and the online shopping to check out. That's very realistic and pretty realistic. So, one last questions for you.
Please.
The experts say that cash is the king. No matter how much you put your investment there, no matter how good you are at investment, in the end of the day, you have to spare cash for yourself. Do you agree with that?
I'm a big believer in cash flow is the king, not the cash itself, because cash is a hard asset that yes you can buy anything from the cash, but the cash will be decreased by its value, not to mention the inflation and so on. So I think cash flow is the king. So if you secure your cash flow, you can secure your future also.
If you secure your cash flow, you can secure your future. So, before we end these discussions, do you have any closing statement for the participants here and online?
I just want to say thank you for inviting me here, and do let me to do the honor to complete this session with Clara. So thank you, at America and team. Thank you, audience, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, then. So, before we end this discussion, I would like to sum up and jump into the conclusions of today's event. So, we can conclude that there are some ways to protect ourselves from financial investment fraud. First, checking the investment opportunity. Don't be rushed. Think twice, think thrice about everything in between. Remember that the legitimate organizations will never press you to invest on time. They will give you time to think about that, because wrong decisions will lead you into wrong path of life. And the second of all, seek advice first before making significant financial decisions. Speak with your friends, your trusted friends, yes, and never choose the backstab one. And also, you have to think to seek advice from financial advisor if you have more money. And the third one is use the financial services authorities register to check the company if it's regulated or not. Because if it's regulated, it will save for you, and you may go investing as much as you can. So that's all for today's discussion. Can we give round of applause for our speaker today? Thank you for being so inspiring for us.
Thank you,
and
Clara.
me, Claranta Wijaya, signing off, and I will give it to the MC. Thank you, at America, for having us.
Thank you, at America.
Once again, give a big round of applause to Clara and Randy. It was a very fruitful discussion. Now, you may be wondering how to develop an awesome idea with a place like this. Very easy. We are waiting for your proposals. You can send your proposal on our website at www.atamerica.or.id. Select Create a Program and go to Collaborate with us. All the event proposals will be reviewed, and your event might be featured here soon. While you are on our website, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to get our weekly event updates. You can also find us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at AT America. You can get fun content, giveaways, and so much more. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, my name is Aninda, and thank you so much for joining us, and see you next time. Bye-bye.